reason they've narrowed their options down to one or two things instead of thinking more globally. Okay, so here's the different ways I can react to the
Yeah.
situation. So their problem solving kind of goes out the window, and the amygdala and the brain,
Yeah.
it kind of becomes a little bit crazy,
Yeah,
and they
like
can't.
fight or flight almost.
Yeah, they can't really think in the moment. So I think probably the issue that I see is that they limit their options.
Yeah.
And like when you talk to them afterwards, almost every kid goes, well, walk talks walk,
Yeah.
or they go, I should have just gone and got help with this because I don't know, I didn't know how to solve it, and
Yeah, it wasn't a
they
problem
don't
I could solve.
think it ahead, right? So that's the
Yeah. So I didn't have a great elementary school experience, and it's not really the school's fault, but it was just the environment and the class that I had. Like, there were a couple problems with it. It was really small,
right.
so there weren't many people for me to choose from, whereas if I had a bigger grade, I might have had more options.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the kids that I were raised with, a bunch of them didn't go to preschool. They didn't get the opportunity to learn how to have empathy for other people.
Right.
That's what I'm focusing on in the project.
Empathy.
It's
Okay, good.
giving kids the skills that they need so that when they're older, they have feelings for other people.
Right.
Because sometimes you'd have conversations with some of these kids and they just, it was just kind of cold,
Right.
It was I don't really, I feel bad for you, but only because I know I'm supposed to.
I see what you're saying.
It's not a genuine emotion.
Right.
And I think that if kids had that when they were younger, they would maybe be able to say, once they calm down a little bit, be able to say hey, I understand how you're feeling and this is how I'm feeling, and then kind of golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've seen all the district level and school level SEL stuff, right? Social emotional learning.
I think
Yeah, so that's a big thrust right now in our district, led by a district principal, a vice principal, Jeremy Church.
Yeah.
Miss Wardis is part of that, and it's just that whole idea of how do we approach multi-leveled social issues in school, and how do we prepare our kids to be able to deal with all those different things. Empathy is one of the pieces, right?
Yeah.
And it's I think it's really catching hold. It's also part of the core competency stuff that you guys are learning, right? Just that idea of critical thinking and how do I approach stuff? What's my toolbox?
Yeah.
Right.
So my big thing was being a student at the school, kind of having the first-hand experience, and it still kind of being fresh in my brain. Was I remember being in kindergarten and grade 1 and stuff, where kids just didn't you'd be sad and they'd be like, "Oh, she's sad." I can recognize the emotion,
right,
but I don't feel empathy for that.
So no affect, kind of that idea.
It was just kind of, how does this affect me? So basically the idea is to have a booklet that you can show the younger kids and be like, these are things that are really important and they're going to be important to you when you grow up. And then have some other, maybe have the concept was kind of to have the grade 7s because they're a little bit more mature, but they can still connect with the kids on kind of a different level than teachers can. And kind of teach them just for 10 minutes, just kind of go through the booklet with them and be like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and this is probably how you're feeling if you're not going through a great time right now. And these are some tools you can learn, and this is kind of,
Okay, so you have the prototype of the booklet?
I don't yet, because I kind of needed to know what kind of issues you were seeing so I could start prototyping it.
So empathy is huge, right? And it's often that, as you know, with developmental psychology, that the idea that with little kids, they're very egocentric.
Yeah.
It's only slowly that they developed an understanding of the world around them. And I was actually just watching a video with Miss Wardis' grandson, and so he's 2, and everything is related to him.
Yeah.
And you get into grade 1 or K1, 2, and you have some kids who haven't developed that empathy, haven't been able to look outside themselves, because really, maybe whether it be in daycare or at home or whatever, every result of every interaction is tailored to them.
Yeah.
So teaching a kid how to lose at a game.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if your mom did that with you. My mom was nasty. Come on, play. When you beat me, you will beat me legitimately, and you'll feel great. But I'm not going to feel sorry for you. But you gotta, So these little things that you teach as parents, that maybe, you picked up from your own parent,
Yeah.
or maybe you didn't, or maybe the single parent and it's really busy, or your spouse is away all the time.
Yeah.
And lots of different things that can affect that. But this is great. So this is an intervention into whatever happens over here to help the kids. So that's great.
Trying to kind of solve the conflict before it arises, basically. And like I know, like last year, for example, with Mr. Bakey, that was not a good situation to be in. And I think if some of the kids just had thought about how how he was feeling, like genuinely, like I can understand what he's feeling, like they would have been able to kind of rationalize and be like, well, if this were happening to me, if this were what I'm feeling, I would understand and I would be a little bit more forgiving. So I think it would have, like, it would just make the community of the school a little bit of a closer knit place as you move up the grades. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds great. So when do you think you'll have your prototype done?
So the due date for it is sometime next week. So
okay, well, I'd love to see it.
First prototype. We're rapid prototyping this weekend.
Awesome.
So that's what
you're working on.
That'll be a fun opportunity.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you working as a team or is it just yourself?
No, it's individual stuff.
Individual stuff?
Yeah.
What are some other kinds of things that are going on with your crew?
So in the PLP program that I'm in right now, I don't know how much you know about it.
I know a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like...
sort of self-directed learning in a way, right?
So there's... Let's see. We have one kid that's making a website about measles and kind of like vaccinate your kids, guys. Like this is becoming an issue.
Yeah.
So one kid that's really into coding and he's developing a whole website, like coding, like writing out all the code about recognizing the issues in cedar trees and how they can solve them.
Wow.
We have kids making like bike shoulder pads because they're mountain bikers. Kids making storage units for like what's it called? For like hockey equipment and how to dry it on the road.
Oh, how to dry it and keep it unsmelly. That could be like a billionaire kind of business.
Yeah. My friend's making a chalk bag that's like weighted on the bottom and has more pockets on the outside. So when you hit it with your foot, so she's a boulderer, so there's no ropes attached. So when she's climbing up and she comes back down and she actually kind of knocks it over, it doesn't just like tip out and $40 of chalk goes spewing across the floor.
Cool, yeah.
So there's some cool projects, but there's nothing quite like this.
Yeah, no, this is good. This can be used everywhere.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So, thank you for
no problem. I look forward to seeing the next step.
Thank you. I will send it to you, and then you can...
Yeah, and I'll share it with staff.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good job, Zoe. All right. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you.